Okay, Mel, I just wanted to make this video so you can kind of understand some of the stuff I told you. On the interfacing, you're not going to get as accurate pieces. I know you were struggling with the small pieces yesterday, but here's one that I did a while back, and I fused the interfacing in there. If you take a tracing wheel and then just score the fabric, it helps you to fold it and glue it down. So another thing that I do is I don't use the die cutter to cut out the hexagons or my shapes because I want a bigger seam allowance. So what I do is I just fuse the interfacing down, and then I freehand cut as much seam allowance as I want to leave. And then I come in and score it and glue it down. The other thing you can do, if you want to have interfacing in there, you can use interfacing and paper. So you take your paper template and glue the seam allowances over the paper, and then once your pieces are sewn together, you can tear the paper out and leave the interfacing in. So it just depends on what you're making. If I'm making a mug rug, I want the interfacing in there. So here's a mug rug that I made using those tiny shapes that I gave you the dies for, the AccuQuilt dies, and then you just add other shapes in there to make it larger. So by doing that, so you end up with a 2-inch sides hexagon in the middle, and then when you start adding these other shapes around the outside to fill it in to make a larger hexagon, you end up with a 6-inch hexagon. So I made a backing, and I cut you some templates on my laser cutter that I got for my birthday. So it looks a little bit smaller, but it's still a 6-inch, what we call a 6-inch hexagon, because it's 6 inches across, but this is 3-inch sides. You can tear the paper off if you want to. It's just some acrylic. It's not clear acrylic. You can use this bigger one to, this one you would use to cut your batting and your interfacing. You're going to want to trim your batting a little bit smaller so that you can get the seams over it. Just cut your interfacing and batting with this one and trim the batting down. This one would be 3/8 inch. If you want to fussy cut some fabric, you got this little window here, and then this gives you the 3/8 inch seam allowance all the way around. But you could always just fuse your interfacing down and just rough cut your fabric. You don't have to use the fabric template. So here's just a different one. This one would be if you're making a 2-inch coaster or something like that. 2-inch sides. This one would end up 4 inches across, I think. Yeah. So anyway, these are what these templates are for if you want to make bigger things. Also, for the mug rug that's just made out of hexagons, I cut out some interfacing for you on my ScanNCut. And so again, you can just fuse this down to your backing fabric and then just rough cut all the way around and then just clip into the corners so that you can fold the ends. But use your tracing wheel so that you can get clean cuts. Now the batting on these is cut just a tad smaller than the interfacing. So I've got that in the instructions for that in here. And it's also got the paper patterns if you want. I don't have the acrylic templates cut out for that, but I like the mug rugs that are shaped like this, so that's why I cut you out some templates for this. But I don't actually have a pattern, so but I'm sure you can figure it out. So what I did with this is I sandwiched my pieced hexagon, which ended up 3-inch sides, and then I cut my backing. And of course I turned all the edges in just like you're doing EPP, and then I sandwiched the batting in between, and I used a ladder stitch to sew all the edges together, or you can use a whip stitch. It doesn't matter, whatever invisible stitch you want to do. So that's what makes it different than the mug rugs that you're making. You're using that Quilt As You Go method where the backing is cut a lot bigger and then turned over. But in my case, I don't want to hide any of my pieced things, so that's why I made an identical shape for the back, just so that I can just sew them together like that. So it might be just another idea for you to use. So anyway, let's see what else. This is the instructions for the pincushion we did in our So Blessed class. This is some templates for the 2-inch Pentagon bowl. That's the largest bowl that I showed you yesterday. I haven't had a chance to cut any more acrylic templates for that. I got to order some more acrylic. So anyway, hope this helps.